Perfecto. Acá seguimos con nuestra siguiente sesión con Chris. La siguiente sesión va a ser en inglés. The next session will be in English. So, Ohud, I know you're listening to me. You're right now connected. So this one will be in English. Chris is from London, from WAFTEC. I invited him because 2 weeks ago actually it was like 3 weeks ago before everything in Latam appeared, in Europe it was already happening. And I heard one of his webinars and it was really, really good. So I invited him to join today. So thank you, Chris, for coming with our Latam audience.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So do you want me to share the screen or do you know how to share the screen?
Yeah, I think I should be okay. Let me give it a go here.
Okay.
Is that working?
Yeah, perfect. You just have to do it like full screen and then we can see it.
Is that good?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon if you're in Europe. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to speak today about the coronavirus impact on global FDI. So my name is Chris Knight. I'm co-founder of a company called WAVTEC. So who are we? Well, we're a specialist FDI consulting company who assist IPAs and EDOs all over the world to attract more foreign investment. You can go to our website and you can read more. We've free white papers for you to read, including this presentation with all the questions and answers are on it. As you can see, we've helped bring $50 billion of FDI to different locations around the world. So that's who we are and where we're coming from. So today, I'm breaking it into 3 things. So we're going to look at the current conditions in key FDI source markets around the world. We're going to then look at the impact of the COVID-19 on the FDI market currently. And then I've got some recommendations for IPAs, EDOs, free zones, and what you should be doing at this time. So what we've decided to do is we went to each of our consultants who are in the key markets around the world, and we asked for their opinion on what is happening, what are companies saying and doing within their markets. So if I just go through them, if we start with China, we've just been told that most manufacturing businesses start production again in mid-March. Currently, all exhibitions and conferences are cancelled, and visitors are not allowed to meet with companies. But we've found we're doing more lead generation conferencing calls, and it seems to be quite effective. So for anyone out there who's still targeting China, this can be done using conferencing calls. The companies still have the same level of interest in doing FDI, but with international travel cut, it's put a delay. So the interest is still there. The companies still want to grow. If things continue to improve, we believe that people can visit by July. Okay, so that's where we are from China. In Korea, for the next 3 months, basically everything has been postponed and stopped. Okay, so we believe it will start improving from May as the number of cases are declining. But interestingly, Korean exports have been increasing, so it's worth looking at that. Within Europe, all or most events have been cancelled, meetings have been cancelled, but we've been moving with our clients to doing more virtual lead generation and business meetings, and that's been quite effective in different markets. In India, we find it has been less impacted than other countries in terms of their FDI. Companies are very receptive to virtual engagement, and in fact, this was happening before the virus hit. So, while the situation is likely to get a bit worse, we believe FDI from India will be increasing later on this year. In the Gulf, so the situation's changing very fast. Currently, schools are closed, events are cancelled or postponed, including their Expo 2020. Airline has been restricted in travel. We think the best way to judge and recovery is going to be when exhibitions and events will reschedule and the travel bans lift. Okay, so we think it could get a bit worse, but then after Ramadan and summer break, things could start to improve by Q3, Q4. So that's what we're getting from the markets. But what's the data telling us? Okay, data and our clients. So we did previously some webinars where we did polls. So we ask all of the EDOs around the world, what's the number of FDI inquiries you've received to date this year? And it was quite interesting because so far there's been, the majority of people said minimal change to 10 to 25%. We've got 6% of people who are very lucky, but in general, we're looking at either up to about a 25% decline in inquiries. But when we ask them, how do we expect it to change over the course of the year, your FDI? You can see the majority, so 52% of all the EDOs or IPAs expect a decline of 10 to 25% in their FDI to the region. Again, we've got 5% who believe that it will grow, 23% minimal change, and 20% think it will be more than a 25% decline. So looking at the current situation, we decided to take a look at greenfield FDI projects, and this is probably 1 month out of date. I'm looking at projects in February 2019 versus February 2020. So what we can see is the two places which have been hit the hardest, fastest, Asia and Western Europe, with the same month had a 26% decline. If we look then at North America, where it's hitting more now, but in February it was much lighter, it was about a 10% decline. Emerging Europe, 12%. But I took a quick look just before we came on for this call at global FDI for March. And you know, we're down over 50% compared to the same time last year. So the March was hit much harder. So I'll be getting this updated and I'll get the slides for that. We also, within WavTech, as we do so much lead generation around the world, we've got our corporate expansion monitor, where we look at number of companies planning to invest and leads, and we compile this. And what we've been noticing is it's down about 25% compared to last year, okay, which goes in line with what a lot of the EDOs are telling us in their predictions of being down 25%. So if we look at sector, what do we think is the risk assessment in the short term? Well, what we see is major decline in FDI, which I know a few of the other speakers have touched on. Tourism, entertainment, automotive, as we've read, a lot of factories shutting down, aviation, all of these have had a major decline in FDI. When we look at minimal decline, we've seen things like agribusiness, consumer goods, people still need goods, IT, logistics, and in fact, financial services are probably getting busier now with a lot of the credits and things going on. In terms of growth, you look at e-commerce, digital technology, healthcare, mobility, and R&D. These are all growing in FDI, so there is still opportunities. And we decided to go and look at some individual companies and just to monitor some of the growth. So for instance, if we look at this Gilead Sciences from Israel, they do vaccines. If you look at the sheer growth over the past 6 months, or even the past 3 months, it's about a 30% growth. So this company is growing rapidly for obvious reasons. Then even we've seen basic products, so Campbell's soup. And I know I'm in the UK, and you go into any supermarket and to buy simple goods, they're sold out every day. So you can see the stock of companies within basic products are increasing. In China, looking up this NASDAQ-listed e-education firm, you can see the huge growth in e-education. And I know it's been mentioned again today, but currently people are doing a lot more e-learning. The schools here in the UK have all gone to digital learning. I know they have in the US, so it's getting more important. Then we've got e-commerce. You know, if we take a look, say Amazon, they're looking to hire 100,000 extra staff. So some of these companies are growing rapidly to really deal with the different situation we find ourselves in. Video conferencing, so we looked it up because we were using Zoom. And if you look at the growth of it, you know, it's doubled in value to be worth $35 billion. So it's worth more than Fiat Chrysler right now. So it just shows the huge growth in some of these industries at this time. So what we've got here is we decided to make predictions on what we look at the forecast to be in terms of FDI and FDI projects. So we've got a few different scenarios. So you can see over the years, it's been growing up until 2018 by about 18%. Then it had a small dip, was pretty much consistent in 2019. So before coronavirus came, we predicted just about a 1% growth in FDI projects this year. Once COVID-19 hit, we believed if it had been contained in Q1 without a recession, it would have been about 11% decline. We then looked, if it was contained within Q2, hitting a bit of a recession, it would drop by 25%. And then we've looked, if it hasn't been contained within, say, Q2, maybe it takes Q3, Q4, we believe it's going to be hit by about 40%, which is really similar to what UNCTAD are suggesting their predictions are for the year. So what can you do as an IPA, an EDO, a free zone? Well, we've got a few suggestions. And the first one, and by far the most important, is aftercare, or your business retention and expansion. So according to UNCTAD, 61% of FDI flows into developed markets and 40% into developing is reinvestment in aftercare. So it's just showing the importance of focusing on your aftercare strategy and making sure you have a strategy in place. So a few recommendations within this is one, create a database. You need to know all the companies who are within your region. You also need to have contacts within each of these. This can be both your international companies as well as your domestic. Then you need to do a risk assessment. So reach out to all the investors, create a survey to find out, how much risk their operations are facing and what you can do to support them. Be proactive and offer your support. And a lot of people might not know what you're able to do to assist, but let them know. Communication. So I've seen a few of the IPAs in the UK, they're providing daily updates to all investors on government responses and financial support available. This can be done a lot through LinkedIn and creating groups. But again, if you've got everyone's contacts, you can mass mail them each day, just a quick update. Another one is government-to-government partnerships. So an example of that, I do a lot of work for the state of Ohio, and Ohio has got very good relations with the Hubei province of China. So we got a letter from Hubei saying that they wanted to ship medical products to Ohio to help them at this time. So again, this is where often sister cities can come into play. It's basically these relations and you can assist each other. Again, retooling, get to know the companies. Can any of these local firms shift their production lines to more in-demand products? So, you see some textiles companies, they're moving towards doing face masks. You get some distilleries moving towards doing hand sanitizer. So work with the companies in your region and see if you can shift certain production lines. So that's one recommendation is aftercare, and I strongly recommend it. 2, this is a time to update your investment promotion strategy. While you're looking at it, you might want to look at your market strategy, targeting the markets so you're not over dependent on just one market, spread your risk. You might want to take a look at your sector strategy, looking at maybe focusing in some of these high growth industries compared to global market conditions. Your go-to market strategy, will trade shows come back and be as popular as they previously were? Will there be more like these virtual events? This seems to be going exceptionally well. This could be the future. So have a think about the way you're going to engage with companies, whether it's, do you always have to travel or can it be done virtually? Different financing. So again, is there financing in place to attract FDI? Take a look at what's available. And we do have a white paper on that, which you can go and download. The next one is capacity building and upskilling. So EDOs and IPAs, while a lot of people are working at home, this is a perfect time to be focusing on professional development and upskilling your current staff. Not only doing that, but also if you wanted to introduce any new systems, I think People mentioned HubSpot recently, or maybe LinkedIn Premium. If there's new systems you want to implement, this is the perfect time to do it, where people have time to learn. And I think we can tell by the number of webinars going on, people have time to spend right now. E-learning management systems. We've just launched our e-learning platform for FDI because we've seen this growth. We've seen what was happening, and already this is being adopted probably in about 12, 13 countries in the space of 2 weeks. So we think this sort of thing can all be done at present. Next, digital promotion. Guillermo mentioned it yesterday. This is extremely important when you cannot get out to market and meet in person. You need to use different digital channels to do this. Again, following on from what Guillermo said, the website is the most important tool you can do. So take some time to check out your website, that you have everything on it that should be on it, and have everything on it that an investor wants to read, not what you want to say. There's lots of new technologies. You might want to have GIS mapping on it, virtual reality. This could be the new reality, sending a headset out so people can see the different sites within your community. So moving more virtual within this. There's also some innovative locations. They're offering online company registration. I know this can be done in some parts of Dubai and in Estonia. You can do a lot of this stuff virtually. Your social media, again, it was mentioned yesterday, but just to reinforce it, social media is key right now. People are checking it up. They're wanting the most up-to-date information available. You can't keep your website as up-to-date as your social media. So ensure to be doing that. Make sure when you're looking at this aftercare, you have a CRM with all your details on, so you're easily able to engage with all of the companies within your region. And again, you can see some companies who are doing different things. Golden Shovel, they're really bringing virtual reality to economic development. So it's definitely worth checking out what some communities are doing. Next, and my final one, is corporate intelligence. We need to focus much more on strategic targeting. So if you're doing business development, this is the time to be more strategic. If we look at it, there's over 300 million companies in the world. Traditionally, we went to trade shows to meet thousands of these companies, like Hanover, MIPIM, Mobile World Congress. This is where we would have narrowed these 300 million companies down. This can't be done anymore. So we need to strategically identify the companies which are the best fit for FDI. Okay, so we're skipping out the middle step. So how do we do that? How do we identify these companies with the best location fit? Well, you need to take a look at what are the key factors. And these are, for us, what we would look at if we think a company is likely to invest. First, have they announced a new strategy? Have you checked their social media, their website? Have they said anything to the press that they're currently considering something? Have they received any new financing? And what are they going to use that financing for? Often this is announced. So if you just monitor it, you'll be able to see. Their value chains, spend this time to research some of the company's value chains. You can then start targeting their value chains and to potentially invest to your community. Import substitution, exports to your country or region, you can look into this. Look at different combat indicators. You'll need to decide which are the most important between the size of the company. Is it the growth of the company over the years? Is it the R&D expenditure? Or a combination of these? Take a look, like we said before, at the current company. You don't always need new companies. It's much easier to look after an existing investor than it is to find a new one. So make sure to get to know them all. You can then take a look at impact investment. So, if you're looking for sustainable companies, you can look at companies who have got their strong CSR, their standards, and who have got a focus on sustainable FDI. But then how are you going to engage with these? Traditionally, you're doing it by face-to-face meetings, seminars, trade shows, farm tours. None of this can be done right now. So we're having to change how we operate. You'll be doing direct calling. going back, it's not quite cold calling because you should have investigated this company, find out why they're a perfect fit for your community, and then start to engage with them and have a strategic conversation. Email campaigns, again, you need to be careful with in Europe with the GDPR and different data protection regulations. But again, this is why even us as a company, we've created white papers. So people register for your website and you can then engage with them as they're in your community. Social media, is absolutely key. With social media, people opt into groups. They opt in to follow you on Twitter. They opt into your LinkedIn group. So they're wanting to receive your messages. So you're able to keep people updated. And I think surveys are extremely important. It lets you get a feel for what the investors are wanting, what's important to them right now. So those are our main recommendations to what you can be doing during this time. But I guess if we had to have one and finish up, would be our one key recommendation. So every source market, as you've seen from the beginning, it's going to recover at different times. So EDOs, IPAs, you need to have a flexible approach. Maybe your 5-year strategy was to target Europe. You might have to rip that up and start looking shorter term at targeting Asia. Asia is where it's going to open up first, and the companies will be ready to grow, and then Europe. So it's worth reevaluating your long-term strategy short-term. So we expect that within 3 months from now, the FDI attraction activities will resume in some countries. And our China team are very optimistic that they will be doing this again within 3 months. So that's really my presentation. Hopefully I've kept within the time. So thank you very much. And if there's any questions, if I don't have time now, please, you've got my email, my LinkedIn, please connect with me and we can continue conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very, very much. Is there some, we have 5 minutes for questions because you were very sharp with the time.
I tried my best.
That I can obviously see that. Are there any questions? I will ask you to put all your contact details on the chat so people can see them at any time if they want to contact you later. And yeah, what Chris was saying, and thank you for saying that this experience can be the future.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's not the future because we're doing it right now. So yeah, this at least for the next year, we will just be doing virtual summits because it's going to be very difficult to travel. And as Chris was saying, we are becoming from a meeting based for a desk based, and this is the new normal. This is the way we have to work right now and for the next month, and still after some month I think things will change and nothing will be like it was used, like for what we were used to do. So this is what we need to become, and thank you for all the recommendations. I think people the from the investment promotions that are here from the free zones, they have many homeworks, and I think we're giving them a very good ideas of what they have to change, what they have to reconsider. So thank you about all this. Well, they're saying thank you, great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. No questions, just a lot of chat. It's good.
Yeah, is there any questions? Resurveys. Okay, there's one question here. Which development strategy do you recommend to a government organizations in this time of lack of resources?
What was the question, sorry?
So what they can do as a strategy, government strategy, I suppose this is from, it's from Brazil, from the governmental free zone of Manaus. What they can do, what would you recommend to governmental organization in this time of lack of resources?
Well, funny you say that. From Brazil, we had a conversation today with Apex Brazil, and what we're talking about is, nowadays doing more webinars. So it's not quite lead generation, but more knowledge-enhancing webinars. So say around cybersecurity or healthcare, explaining the benefits of Brazil, having maybe some key investors in, and bringing some international people in to learn more. You know, that hosting webinars is very low cost. It's hard work, and I think it's time consuming, but it doesn't cost huge amounts of money. And you're able to really do your research on the companies you would like to have. You don't need to have huge numbers there. Even if you have 50 people, it's success hosting a webinar with 50 companies within an interesting sector for you. So I would look at doing something like that. And, you know, it was said yesterday on one of the presentations, your website, it doesn't cost a lot to update and tweak your website. And then finally is social media. You know, social media needs to be used better and much more. And it's also extremely low cost.
I completely agree. LinkedIn is for free. Twitter is for free.
Yep.
Facebook is for free. Just if you want some additionals, and it's like 10 euros. Well, this, for giving all of you an example, this event will have cost above $200,000 if we did it impersonally. And it's only costing $200. So it's quite a big difference, and this is the way we are going to start interacting. And I think you're coming with some innovations on these platforms. I hope the next one is to have like simultaneous translation for the for the sessions that were in Spanish for you. But I think in these terms we will see a lot of technological innovations for establishing contact with our clients. So Chris, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'll, again, I repeat, after this session, I will close this session. This will be recorded and you can see it whenever, not whenever you can, but for the next 24 hours, it will be on the schedule. You can click the session that you would like to repeat, and we will move on with our next session. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.